welcome back to another episode of ET with GOTB. Despite there only being 4 WSL games this weekend, the Conti Cup has delivered plenty to talk about. So let's get into it. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Right, Soph, lots to be getting on with. In this week's episode, we're obviously going to run through the Conti Cup Final between Arsenal and Chelsea, possibly the longest game I have ever been to. That touchline spat, the 4 WSL games, a look at how the Championship is shaping up as we tick ever closer to the end. We'll look ahead to the international break, which I'm actually delighted has come around, weirdly. We'll get some of your questions as well, and of course, your moment of the weekend, so get your thinking cap on now. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us across our platforms at Girls on the Ball and on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss out on any extra episodes or when we drop our weekly ep as well. Okay. The results look like this. We have got the Conti Cup Final, Arsenal beating Chelsea 1-0 in extra time. Stina Blackstenius in the 116th minute. Yes, that is how long we had to wait for a goal. In the WSL, Liverpool 1, Manchester City 4. Hemp, 2 goals for Shaw, Park and Taylor Hines on the score sheet. Aston Villa 2, Leicester 2, Leon, Daly, Momiki and Tierney with the goals. Man United 4, Everton 1, Snoyce, Turner, Toon with 2 and Galton with the goals there. And West Ham 0, Brighton 0. Not the most exciting game for you.
I had the delight of that game.
You did. I was at the Conti Cup Final where all the action was in the extra time. That's to be fair. Okay, so WSL, City are back at the top of the table. They're on 46 points. Their goal difference is 37. And Chelsea are below with a game in hand on 43 points and their goal difference is 36. So it's still super, super tight up there. But the pressure arguably on Chelsea now. Arsenal are in 3rd on 37 points. United are back up to 4th on 31 points with Liverpool behind in 5th on 29 points. Down the bottom we've got Bristol still down there on 6 points. They didn't play this weekend, but West Ham did get another point on the board, moving them just a little bit further away. They're in 11th place and they're now on 13. Let's get into the action though, because we've got to start with the Conti Cup Final. It wasn't a straightforward match. Longest game ever. Felt even longer because I needed to be somewhere. I was meant to be meeting her family for dinner at 8 o'clock in London.
Yep.
Which would have been fine, just about, had the game gone to normal time and things had ticked along smoothly, but no. It was a good game despite it being 0-0 for most of it. End to end, pretty, like it lived up to a final. Arguably, I mean, Emma Hayes said she didn't think it was a good quality football match. I thought both teams played well. Like they didn't both play their best, but I think part of that is because both teams were playing well.
That nullifies, you can play brilliantly when you score 6 goals against a team. And I think you automatically think you played brilliant because you scored 6 goals and you don't concede anything or something like that situation. Where it's really competitive and testy and small margins, I think it's the automatic reaction is to think you've not seen the best of the teams, when actually it's because of the calibre of of both sides and the opposition that nullify the threats, and that's where the puzzle pieces have to come into place, and it's where you have to solve find the solutions to the problems that have been placed on the pitch. Yes, you can have very, very nice performances where you run to victories, but actually I think it's in those moments where you have to problem solve and where it isn't always pretty, but that's the most fun I have with football, because that's where all of the problems and situations are happening on the pitch.
And the tactical solutions and all of that kind of stuff. You spoke a little bit about the midfield. You felt like this was where the battle was won. And you also thought Arsenal did a much better job of nullifying Lauren James. To an extent, she did have opportunities. I don't think she was fully 100% on her game, but there was definite improvement from Arsenal's perspective when you compare it to that game they played at Stamford Bridge.
Night and day from that game at Stamford Bridge, where Arsenal just weren't able to control Lauren James but any of the Chelsea midfield in that situation, and they just ran riot over them, whereas I think they was so much tighter in Wolves on Sunday. They were doubling up on Lauren James. She didn't really she broke through a couple of times, but they did really minimise the balls into her, but also her ability to break through. And they kept her. She was playing on the left side instead of central, and I think actually that played into Arsenal's hands. I think she struggled to really get that space into the game where she can run at defenders and take them on and beat them. And
Emily Fox did well.
Emily Fox did really well against her. I'm a big fan of Emily Fox as well. I think she's a real, if you want a right back, Emily Fox is a perfect right back that you kind of want. And then you have Palova. I mean, I think there's a reason why she was given Player of the Match by the BBC pundits, because she was absolutely everywhere in that midfield area. Her ability to press the ball but also to resist the press is unbelievable. And I think I was saying that goal against Aston Villa last week, I think that did wonders for her. She's had a bit of a drop off in form in recent weeks for Arsenal, but I think as soon as she hit the back of the net, you could see something just switched in her, and she suddenly got her confidence back. And that followed through into this game this week, where she was so full of energy. She's also carried a bit of an injury, I think, so she looked fresh and fit, and probably having the week off helped her as well, having that week to train and recover a little bit. But yeah, I think that's probably where it was won and lost, but there were small margins between the two.
Yeah, conversely, Chelsea, of course, coming off the back of another Champions League game midweek. That was a draw, not a brilliant game from Chelsea, and they would have been frustrated because they did have opportunities in the game. It was fine margins, it was close. They did have the ball in the back of the net in the first half. It was a beautiful goal from Myra Ramirez, but VAR spotted that there was an Erin Cuthbert handball in the build-up and the goal was disallowed. But you still have to appreciate the beauty of that strike.
You do. I think it's that really hard balance, isn't it, for a coach and for the technical staff to find, because they made so many changes in midweek against Ajax, and Emma had pointed it to it after the game in the sense that she felt she had to rest players for the cup final, and so she brought new players in and gave them a chance, because by half time in that one they were 4-0 to the good, and while Ajax made it properly tough, they were still winning that tie comfortably. And so she felt that there was an ability there to be able to make changes.
Sacrifice a little
bit.
But
actually, and I get that tiredness is a problem, and you have seen that in Chelsea in recent weeks, that they are looking a bit leggy at points, despite still getting results. But then it's sacrificing a bit of momentum. I sometimes think that, yes, tiredness is a factor, but if you're in a really good vein of form and a spell of winning games, sometimes mixing up the team doesn't always help. And it's not saying it's wrong. I completely understand the reasons for doing it, but it can disrupt a kind of momentum. And maybe when you're taking out, I think she made 6 changes during the week, and then I think she made something about the same coming back into this one. So that is going to have an effect too. Yeah,
and as you said, it was a game of fine margins, passes that were just long for both sides, players just offside, and it did feel like it was edging ever closer to extra time and no one was going to find that breakthrough. I think both keepers pulled off 1 or 2 top class saves, but otherwise fairly routine. I think Arsenal had edged it in terms of actual chances on target. But those frustrations did boil over a little bit at the end of the game. I feel like it's a little bit of a mountain out of a molehill situation. Maybe distraction tactics from Emma Hayes to stop us actually talking about the loss. She did accuse Jonas Eidevall of male aggression, said that he'd confronted her player, which actually didn't happen. There's footage of that kind of scenario, and I think post-match it came out that they'd had this whole back and forth about whether they're going to have a 1-ball system or a multi-ball system, and apparently if both sides can't agree, they go with a 1-ball system, which is what Chelsea wanted in the first place. And Jonas Eidevall got really frustrated then towards the end of the game when Erin Cuthbert was taking that throw-in and took a second ball to be able to take the quick throw-in, and he was like, hang on, we're either playing the 1-ball system or we're not. He does get very animated on the touchline. He's been pulled up on it a couple of times and booked a couple of times. But in that situation, he was shouting at the fourth official, and it was actually Erin Cuthbert who turned around and approached Eidevall. So this kind of squaring up business didn't really happen.
Yeah, unless
it's something that happened off the camera.
Yeah, from what we can see on the cameras, that's exactly what happened. And we know what Jonas Eidevall is like on the touchline. He can be overly animated. He can probably be a little bit contentious and overly competitive, that goes over that line of going from
passionate
to being too much and over the top. And we know that he can do that, and I think it's The problem with this one is that it was Emma Hayes who gave him the little push at the end of the game when he went to shake her hand.
Yeah.
And it was Erin Cuthbert who turned towards him in that moment that we see on camera. And I think you have to be super careful about the language that you use. And when you talk about male aggression, you have to understand the connotations that brings with it. And in this particular moment, from what we've seen, it doesn't warrant those kind of connotations. And it's kind of a rather attack on his whole character. And yes, I know, like, it's well known that Jonas can be fiery on the touchline, and I don't always condone his actions.
Yeah.
But more often than not, the fourth official and the referees deal with it when they think he's overstepping the line, and they give him that yellow card. And if they don't, like, the other situation this season was when Gareth Taylor called him a bully or something on the touchline. It again was when they lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I would add a little bit more weight if it was a manager who had won a game and bring it up, if that makes sense.
Or a manager who's never gotten in the face of a fourth official.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen plenty of, including Gareth Taylor, do that. Not that condones Jonas either.
No, it doesn't. But I think also the problem is that we have to. In football, there's very contentious rivalries, right? And we want characters in the game, and that's not me saying I want them stepping over the line. I don't. But Jonas is a character. He's very, very passionate about his side and his team.
So is Emma.
And Emma is the same. Emma.
She ran down the bloody sideline when Sam Kerr scored that goal and had the shirt off.
It's great, and I think we all talked pre-match about how this rivalry between the two coaches has been absolutely brilliant for the game. And you can't water down those characters. Yes, if they step over the line, they get punished and they get sorted for that. But anything in between, so I still don't understand the whole debate around his not knee slide. A couple of seasons ago, like, he didn't actually knee slide. He dropped to his knees and shook his hand in the air, and everyone thought it was such a bad thing. Well, not everyone, but there were a lot of comments about it, and they still bring it up now that like it was a bad thing. I just personally don't understand what's bad about that. You swear in the face of the opposition manager, or you swear in the face of the referee or something, that's bad. But the passionate side we have to be able to keep within the game as well, and I think we have to not blur the lines between the two.
Yeah, and I think accusing someone of aggression and then pushing them post-match kind of waters down your argument a little bit. It's not. The way I looked at it was like, if he did that to her, if it was a reverse situation, bloody hell. Anyway, point is, I do think it's a little bit of distraction techniques where it's like, look over here, don't look at the fact that we've lost and the quadruple's gone out the window, which is what we've been talking about beforehand. So of course she's going to be frustrated. Of course there's going to be heat of the moment things. We know that she hates losing to Arsenal as well, and especially when it's a game with such fine margins.
And especially since it's the last time for her.
Yeah,
I think. So there's a whole weight of emotion in it that comes out. I do think managers are very well known for their kind of distraction techniques, as you say. Emma's done it before. She did
the last Conti Cup Final.
She did it in the last Conti Cup Final, where she distracted away from the fact of the actual game and the win. Gareth Taylor's done it before. I'm pretty sure Mark Skinner's done it before.
Definitely
literally
has.
People like
Jose Mourinho was famous for it.
Yeah, like it happens, and I think we have to be aware of that side of the game as well.
Do you know what there was? There was a lovely moment at the beginning of the game between Jonas and Emma, where really nice interaction in the tunnel, and that's something I'd like to remember. And also want to give our thoughts with, of course, Frida Monam, who went down off the ball late in the game. Really scary situation to witness in the stadium. Really like frightening thing to kind of be there and witness that in person. That hush around the stadium was really scary. Received really quick, serious medical attention, was stretchered off, and thankfully during the game, a really quick update that she was awake and well and responsive, which is brilliant. So hopefully she makes a full recovery, and I think she did go home with the team on the bus, which is really good as well.
That's really positive, but you just hate to see it in football when things like that happen. It's really terrible, and I think we should be paying a lot of focus to that moment, because you can only imagine what like her teammates were feeling, her friends and family were feeling. And I think Jonas actually spoke about it in his post-match interviews about that kind of reacting to stress situations as well, and how Arsenal did so well to get their minds focused back on the job. They'd obviously got a message, I think, that she was doing okay. Otherwise, I don't think they would have continued the game. I think if she had been really, really bad, they would have stopped it. So they obviously got that message that she was doing all right, and they managed to refocus their minds to winning the game for her, and he was very clear. And Alessia Russo was very clear in the post-match that they won it for her.
Yeah, and I think actually it would affect both teams in that situation. Kind of football kind of goes out the window in that moment. Everything comes into really sharp focus, and it would be quite a scary thing for any player to experience of any player on the pitch. So
trumps football every day.
Yeah, and it seemed to be fairly well handled, and it's really good to hear that she is well again. So yeah,
hopefully.
Fingers crossed she keeps recovering well. Okay, we'll move on to the WSL fixtures. We did 2 of them this weekend, 2 of the 4. First one was Aston Villa Leicester 2-2. We were at this one. Talk to me, Soph. Villa started well, Villa ended well. Leicester were pretty good in the middle, so it felt like a draw was a fair result.
Yeah, it was really transitional from pretty much after the first 10 minutes. It was really end to end, and both teams, they were trying to create a lot and to varying extents, but I think it's that sort of tail of that part of the table where they're wanting to have their identity and be creative, but they're also trying to learn how to defend while doing that. And I think in this particular game it was 2 attacks going head to head and seeing who could break through, but in other games across the weekend and elsewhere it's been about that, trying to find that balance between attacking and defending, and sometimes it doesn't come off. It's that's just part of their development on their journeys as teams. I think there were some really key individual performances from both sides.
Well, I've written down here Momiki superb and Leon really hitting her groove, so 2 players on each team.
Yeah. Yuka Momiki is an absolute gem of a player, and I think because she looks so small, she is pretty small, you don't really think she has much physical stature to her, but boy can she, hold off for defenders.
It's a low central gravity, lads.
She's so aware of the space around her as well, and I thought she was absolutely tireless throughout the game, not just in the kind of offensive areas and kind of building attacks and scoring goals, but also when she was defensively needed. Leicester's way that they want to play is all about pressing from the front and pressing through that midfield, and she and Sam Tierney alongside her in those 2-10 roles are absolutely key to that game plan. And yes, the problem with that game plan is they get broken through.
Yeah.
But I think you can't fault the kind of aptitude or the application, maybe, of making that game. I thought she was a gem. And
Leon really hitting her groove, partnering up really well with Rachel Daly, getting quite good at finding her in the box.
Yeah, I tweeted during the game, I think, about how it's interesting to kind of see the comparison between Leon and Layman. Both players who can at times be frustratingly unproductive, despite the fact that we all know how talented they are. They just don't have the right decision making at times, and I think it's about confidence a lot of the time. And Leon this season she struggled at the start of the season. I think she wasn't always getting played, but she managed to find her a couple of goals here and there and managed to really start getting at players, and she's become quite a consistent member of Villa's starting lineup, and I think that confidence has done her wonders. She went to the Gold Cup, she performed really, really well at the Gold Cup as well, and came back home to Villa and was kind of like ready to take it back up where she left off. When you look at Layman, it's perhaps the opposite where she's struggling to find any kind of momentum at the moment or a confidence, and you could see it on the pitch at the weekend.
Yeah.
She's not been starting for Villa recently, and you could see her touch was just a bit too slow. She was too hesitant in those, in the box. She didn't really know what to do with the ball, and it's about finding her confidence again.
Yeah. Rachel Daly, another player that always stands out, and she has been everywhere recently, playing a deeper role. This is something you asked Carla Ward about post-match, and here's what Carla had to say.
Yeah, Rach Daly is a proper footballer. She's for England. She's played in various positions for us. You could play her anywhere, and she does her job. And she's an intelligent footballer. She's got so much quality. She's tenacious, and to be honest with you, she's done a wonderful job in there. So it's been difficult to take her out when she's linking the play as well as she is.
Okay, well, I think it was a pretty fair result in the end, despite what Carla said to me post-match, was she didn't think it was a very good game of high quality. I really enjoyed it. For the neutral, I thought
for a neutral, I think it's pretty. Yeah, it was a entertaining game. Maybe not the highest quality always, but it was very, very entertaining, and I probably could have watched another 90 minutes.
Yeah, not something that can be said about West Ham Brighton. We will get on to that one. First, though, what I find really interesting, Liverpool, Man City winning 4-1. Man United also beating Everton 4-1. Both teams scoring 3 goals in 8 minutes. and both teams having a player score a brace. Very interesting. Anyway, Liverpool-Manchester City, this was also on Saturday. A really good start from Liverpool. First kind of 15 minutes, brilliant. And then it fell apart like a wet cake about 8 minutes afterwards when Man City scored 3.
It's all about that reaction to conceding, right, I think. And I think Matt Beard said it after the game, they had a mad 10 minutes. And they conceded the first goal, and it was like all of the hard work that they'd done in that first 15 minutes just went out of the window as they lost their heads a little bit. And then City just, because they're in such fine form this season and they had the players to do it, they knew that was the time to turn on...
Recognising those moments.
Turn on the levels, move up the gears and really, really put them under pressure rather than scoring and kind of setting off and going, oh, we're ahead here. They literally went for the jugular, I think. And when you have the players a bit like, well, the players like Shawhemp and Park who all got on the goals, the score sheet at the weekend, yeah, it was absolutely... You can't let them...
Of all
wind.
teams...
You can't let them get wind of your weaknesses because otherwise they're just going to literally...
Attack. We have to talk about Bunny Shaw's first goal because it was absolutely the pick of the bunch. Another example of the attributes that she has, of which there are many. But to be able to pick up the ball the way she did, as you said, take that touch away from the defender and unleash, like, just the most beautiful strike, top corner... She, you know, we're so used to talking about Bunny in the box, headers, you know, close range kind of shots, but she's got that in her locker as well. And she assisted.
It wasn't an assist.
Well,
yeah.
It was a ball to find a player that
I
was...
think it's you always want with your centre forward a player who can do everything, and you want them to be able to press, you want them to be able to head the ball, you want them to be able to understand the spaces within the box and pick those runs, and then to be able to score from distance. And Bunny Shaw literally has it all. It doesn't matter whether she's dropping deep to pick up a pass from Yu Hasegawa and then spreading a crossfield ball across to Mary Fowler. That was an absolute delightful one.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Or whether she is pressing from the front, or whether she sees an opportunity from the range that she did at the weekend to basically dink the ball over Gemma Bonner almost, and then unleash that rocket of a shot. She is a striker that, as I just said, has everything.
All round.
That was her 19th goal of the season.
Wow. And
she was only pipped to the goal scoring, like the Golden Boot award last year by Rachel Daly, who was having, like, Rachel Daly's a brilliant player, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of a phenomenally absurd season that she managed to score as many goals as Rachel Daly did, and that Bunny Shaw was just pipped to that. But this time she's literally on her own out there. She's just scoring for fun.
We're so lucky to have her in the WSL. Yeah. Man City will be frustrated to concede because they had an opportunity there, and I feel like they saw an opportunity to bang in the goals and try and get a little bit of distance on that goal difference. But it is just +1 because Taylor Hines, also back from injury, with another wonder strike.
Unfortunately, it went down as a Kiara Keating goal, and I really, really hate that kind of rule.
Sorry, I should have said that, shouldn't I? When I was naming the goals, I shouldn't have said Taylor Hines.
It's fine, because I would have given, I think in that situation, the goal scorer should always be credited with the wonder strike.
Even though
there is literally nothing Kiara Keating can do about that situation. Like, it crashes off the crossbar and just hits her on the back and rolls in, and I don't think you can... It's a blot on her copybook.
Yeah.
It's also, like, you taking that spectacular shot.
If I was Taylor Hines, I'd be taking that.
I do think there was a bit of a lax tracking back from Chloe Kelly in the build-up to that goal.
Okay. Then we had Manchester United also winning 4-1 against Everton. Again, a good start from Everton. It seems quite similar to this goal. A bit of a gift of a goal, though, for... I've just completely forgotten her name.
Katja Snosh.
Thanks. I had new skin in my head and I was like, I know that's not her name. Katja Snois, yeah, a bit of a gift of a goal, a poor pass back, and Snois pounced and managed to get that goal for Everton. They held on a full...
Can I just say, Did you see Mary Epps' little strop off?
Oh, yeah, I did.
So it was Letizia who completely sold her short. Like, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. There was just landed perfectly in the no man's land between her and Mary Earps, and Snoish just came in, ran in and turned it home, and Mary Earps for a good 30 seconds afterwards was like throwing her hands in the air and going having a little strop because of the nature of conceding. So that made me giggle.
As I was saying, they did manage to hold on for a full half against Manchester United. They scored in the 10th minute. But I feel like we've seen that from Everton. They do struggle across 90 minutes for consistency, like, you know, having a game plan for the entire 90 minutes. And, you know, you can understand that with the lack of depth in the squad and with players playing out of position. But much like Liverpool, they fell apart in the second half. There was an 8-minute period where Man United scored 3 goals. Millie Turner and Ella Toone with 2. Great to see her getting back in the goals again.
Yeah,
more than one.
and they were just really defensively hesitant, and that's to take nothing away from Manchester United, who I think, you know, it was, I want to give a big shout out to Lisa Nelson, because she went under a lot of pressure at the beginning of the season, and a lot of people not really understanding why Man United bought her. She had a really tricky start to her life at the club. She got injured quite early on, and it's taken her a bit of time to hit her full groove, but she was really highly rated at Brann, and there's a reason why she's highly rated, and I think you've seen since the turn of the year kind of
she's showing it now,
the player that she is, and it was her two presses from her that caused two of the goals from Toone, I think, and then she got the assist from Toone goal. So that's the first thing. I think Everton will be really disappointed at their defending. Van Havermaet, who was a literal tree, got beaten by Millie Turner in the air for the first goal at the far post.
I don't know if she jumped.
I'm just like, that's going to be pretty disappointing, right? And then for the second one, Ella Toone completely swiped and missed it with her left foot, but the defence was so
she's stealing Blackstenius
that she then got it in with her right foot, and I think that's where the frustration will be for Brian Sorensen and this side.
Yeah, they struggled to get back into it then after that kind of 8-minute whirlwind. I think Piemonte makes a real difference for Everton. I'm not sure why she doesn't start more. I don't know, maybe she's not fit enough for the full 90, but I always feel like there's a real threat with her when she plays.
I think it's also part of the way that Sorensen wants to play football that makes having a target player not exactly particularly suiting to his style of play.
Get some bloody goals if they
But she holds the ball up so well. She forced a really good save from Mary Epps late in the second half, and that could have, you know, caused a tense last 10 minutes or so. I think she's great. She brings a lot of physicality to that role as well, and a lot of creativity. So I think also adjusting to the league takes time.
Fair. Galton topped off a good day with a goal after coming off the bench, and it means that Man United move back up to 4th, so they'll be really pleased with that.
Well, they are just about, they're 6 points now clear of below Arsenal.
Yes.
No, they're just about in touching distance. It's a hard ask, but that's not mathematically.
If you stand on your tiptoes, maybe. Okay, last game was, of course, West Ham versus Brighton. And this game was so not fun that I haven't written any notes about it. So I'm hoping that means that given you were at it, you can tell our lovely listeners how it all went down. Tell us the excitement. What were the big moments? I'll insert cricket noise there.
Yes. Intriguing battle between the two. Rhiannon Skinner's side probably created more.
Okay.
And once again, when there were really good chances, they were wasteful. Brighton's propensity of playing out from the back and completely messing it up.
It's very stressful.
It's very, very stressful, and they got away with it. But then I would say that Sophie Bagley made a huge save in the second half. And they did have their chances. They were better in the second half, I think. Brighton, they had more possession. They felt they should have had a penalty. I'm not so sure about that. I didn't think it was when I first saw it. But yeah, it was not a classic. And I did kind of regret my life choices that I hadn't gone to the cup final with you.
Well, there you go. I don't think we need to dwell any more on that, do we? We will move on to the championship results. I don't feel like there was any major surprises this weekend. We had Durham 1, Crystal Palace 5, Reading 1, Blackburn 4, Charlton 3, Birmingham 1, London City Lionesses 1, Sheffield 2. Maybe that's a surprise. Southampton 2, Lewis 1, and Watford 0, Sunderland 3. So it means the top of the table looks like this. We've got Sunderland on 40 points with 20 games played. Palace on 39 points with 19 played. Southampton on 36 points with 20 played. Charlton also on 36 points with 19 played. And Birmingham 33 points with 19 played. So perhaps now we've got that 4-horse race.
Yeah, well, it changes every weekend, because last weekend Birmingham were right back in the mix, right? So it's going to be...
They've just missed a furlong, so they're a bit behind.
Yeah, they are now right back behind. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I think, if I'm not wrong, Crystal Palace have Birmingham to play next after the international break. And then I'm pretty sure the final game of the season, Crystal Palace plays Sunderland.
That's very exciting.
And they are the two at the top of the table.
That's very exciting.
So yeah, it's going to be a really intriguing run-in. It's not going to be boring, that's for sure.
Listen to me talking about furlongs. I go to Cheltenham once. Right, down the bottom we have Watford on 12 points with 19 games played. Lewis above on 16 points with 20 games played. Reading on 18 points, 19 games played. And Durham on 20 points with 20 games played. Not looking good for Watford. But that second relegation spot, it's still potentially up in the air.
Yeah,
maybe.
one bad result for Reading and Lewis, and a good one for Lewis. They're right back in it. And vice versa. Reading win a game and Lewis lose, they're out of touch. So it's really, we've got 3 games left, I think. 3 or 2? 3. I think we've got 3 games left. I think Reading have one more. So, it's going to be finishes on the 28th of April.
Keep an eye on it, guys.
We've got not a lot of time left.
It's very exciting. We're in the final straight. Okay, the international break, which for once I'm actually delighted about because it means things are a little bit less all over the place in terms of fixtures. We have got England versus Sweden in Wembley on Friday night, and you said over 50,000 tickets sold?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I think that was the last one, but that was like a week and a bit ago. So.
Brilliant. I love a Friday at Wembley. All games are tough, obviously, in this group. We've touched on that, especially for Ireland. But this will be a good test.
Yes.
Sweden have been a bit up and down.
Up and down.
England. But are always a good team with really good players.
England had a really good February window, but then were a bit up and down at the end of last year.
And I think as well, though, when you've got players within teams doing well at club, winning things, getting to finals and stuff like that, it can kind of bleed into the national team as well. So it could be really interesting.
England love playing at Wembley as well, though. So
this is true.
I think that gives them an extra incentive or impetus, a bit more energy as well. Okay. Not that they shouldn't have energy, they will do, but
no, plays a part.
I think it would be a really good way to set down your stall, I guess, for the group ahead. It's a pretty tough group, and if you can get a good result at home, then you set yourself away pretty well.
Then, of course, Ireland versus England in Dublin on Tuesday, which I'm very excited about, at the Aviva Stadium. I'm also very nervous about it, but really looking forward to going over to Dublin for a few days. We've got some of the other journalists keen to hang out the day before the match, and for me to give them a little bit of a tour, a little bit of a spin around Dublin, so no pressure there. On Friday, though, Scotland also plays Serbia, Wales play Croatia, and Northern Ireland play Malta. And then on Tuesday, Wales play Kosovo, Northern Ireland play Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Scotland play Slovakia. I feel like I've missed out an Ireland game. Who are they playing on Friday?
They will play France.
Oh, God. Jesus.
But I think those are all League B games, and all of those teams will be wanting to finish in the top 2 of League B, because I know they play each other again, but if you play 3rd and 4th place, it's better than playing 1st and 2nd place. You would think. But
yes. I always just go along with what you say and pretend like I know what you're talking about. Anyway, there's lots to be keeping an eye on, and we will be bringing you the England-Sweden game and the Ireland game over in Dublin.
And the under-23s, England-Sweden again, and the under-19s, England-Switzerland on Wednesday.
Yeah, just go to her for the fixtures. Okay, right, we did promise to answer some of your questions. So if you're not already following us on our socials, then do, because then you can drop some questions in each week, and also you can give us your opinions and stuff when we do our Instagram lives, which is always fun. But thanks to those of you who did send some in. Genfi Cram, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, does winning the Conti Cup save Jonas Eidevall's job?
I don't think he was ever at risk. He signed a new contract at the beginning of the season, but it certainly eases the pressure.
Okay. And
given that they're looking on course to get Champions League football, I think if you look at it pre-season, that's probably the bare minimum of what you would want. 1 trophy and Champions League football. The Champions League football is absolutely crucial. But I do think they'll look at it as a disappointing season in the way that they dropped off in the league, and the way that, but cup games are a bit different, but the league will really frustrate them.
Yeah.
But I do think not a lot is talked about how tricky this season has been for them, and it's the same same but different. So for like Chelsea, who have suffered many injuries, that's a different problem. For Arsenal, they've had to integrate 3, almost 4 players, the 4th one still coming back from ACL injuries, which is not easy, and you have to find a way of fitting players in for 30 minutes and 45 minutes and 60 minutes and then 90 minutes and building them up that way, and it's going to have probably a bit of an effect on momentum at times, because it's not an easy thing to do. You kind of want that stable, but because all three of them are absolutely key to Arsenal as well, you're not going to leave them on the bench for so long.
Fair.
So I do think we need to think about that side of things. But yeah, bare minimum, sort of, if they get Champions League football, tick, his job is safe, and I think they will go into next year knowing where they need to support the squad.
Okay, devil's advocate here, but I'd say doing better last season with all of those ACL injuries than this season is interesting, but I'm going to leave it there. Esther Boble, hopefully pronouncing that right. Why was May Letizier dropped from the England squad? Do we think she played quite well last camp?
So this was the one that really confused me a little bit, because she is a stalwart of the Manchester United defence, and she plays almost every week for them. And Serena Wiegman always says something about how she sees her as a right back and how United play her as a centre back. And I think she proved in the last camp that she can play both perfectly well. And she did pretty well in that right back position at the last camp. It also confuses me when I understand that Esme Morgan is talented, but she is not a regular for Manchester City. And I don't understand when I know Serena sees May as a right back, but you can also know that she plays centre back.
Well, what's more important? Is it minutes, actually getting minutes and playing, or is it being always in the same position that you want to be in?
So you know that she can perform there. I do think she's probably dropped off a little bit this year, and that's probably understandable. She's played so many minutes at both Brighton and Manchester United that her level has probably dropped a little bit, but I think she was the one that I felt pretty interested by or intrigued by.
Fine. Sarah Davies wants to know who our pick is to win the Champions League. Like, head says Barcelona, but I want Chelsea to win it, but I think it will be Barcelona.
Yeah, head says Barcelona. But if Chelsea beat them in the semi-finals, I think Chelsea can beat Lyon.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Not that I think that...
No, that doesn't mean Lyon are bad.
No. I said Lyon because I automatically think they're going to beat PSG, and I do automatically think they're going to beat PSG because PSG are one of those weird teams who can never quite get it together. But
you never know.
I do think Chelsea would be able to beat either of those French teams in the final.
Okay. Katie Mack, was Jonas out of line or was Hayes just angry anyway? I saw someone put up really well, it was in some of the comments to Susie's article, some of which are absolutely wild. But someone saying both can be true, like Jonas can be out of line and over the top, and Emma can also be wrong. So they're not mutually exclusive. I think both of them would probably maybe regret some of their actions. But
it's a game of emotions, and I think where it went maybe a bit wrong was in the continued post-match comments. I think you could put it down to a in-game incident and leave it there, but instead it became the talking point.
Yeah,
because
which I think was the point.
Post-match comments.
Isabella Copping says, "How did she get into sports photography? She's still quite young." If I don't know if you've got any camera equipment. If you do, I would say take yourself down to a local team, see if they would let people come and do some photography. Don't go too big too quickly, because there are ways of doing things at matches in the WSL that you'd be better off coming into with a little bit of experience. So go to your local clubs. If you don't have kit, have a look at some secondhand stuff. wex.com is a good place to look for secondhand kit. Get yourself I just go for a lens that's 200mm lens, something that maybe zooms in and out, just to give you a bit more options when you're starting out. Lenses get bigger as you get better, and you get to know how to use them and stuff like that. And you can get fixed lenses and stuff like that. But I think if you're starting out, you're better to just have something that you can zoom in and out with. Just go local and get a feel for it. Get practicing, and then you can start practicing things like editing, which Sophie's very good at and often edits a lot of our photos. See how you get on from there. And if you continue on and have any more questions, do let me know. All right, thank you guys for your questions. We've taken 5, and we will do more next week. So, what is your moment of the week, please? We've gotten to it.
So I think we were having a chat on Saturday, and I was going to say Rachel Daly's performance against Leicester, because of the way that she is being utilised in this number 10 role. It hasn't been seen very often from her, but it just shows her versatility. She was pinging some lovely balls around spraying them across the park.
Why do I feel like there's a but?
But then the cup final happened, and Stina Blackstonius scored. And I think for her in that moment...
Sorry, that wasn't me going, yay Arsenal, that was me going, yay Stina, because I've been a big
You're a big fan.
Stina.
I think that she is underrated at times. I think that is partly herself to blame as well. Like she needs a lot of chances on goal. She can have the most like monumental disasters in terms of like slipping. There was another slip yesterday. Slipping up and everything. Not necessarily her fault, but there's just things that happen to her, I think. And but I do love it when someone comes good, and I think it was her moment in that cup final. She was being serenaded by the Arsenal fans. She was being serenaded on the way home by the Arsenal players.
She loves a Conti Cup.
Her mum was there as well. That was really sweet. And I'll go with that.
And she's besties with Frida as well. Yeah. And as Leslie said, that it seemed written in the stars for Frida Monam's bestie to score the goal. So well done, Stina. I like that one. Very nice. Alright guys, that is the end of the episode. Again, reminding you to do your like, follow and shares and comments and all of that and subscribing. Please and thank you. We will be coming to you from Dublin next week, which I'm very excited about. Together as well, not from different countries. So with that in mind, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm going to say slán go fáil a chairde.
What does that mean?